left this in the car.
That's
You ever go
really?
around?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh, thank
I have a copy of it.
you. Thank you.
Interesting takes. These little stories to illustrate are a little different from the...
Good evening, and welcome to the Tibet Center. We're at 502 North Fleetwood Road, South Orange,
Denja.
New Jersey.
Yes.
So we will begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West by Yongzin Rinpoche. By the force of the
The blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread
to the expanse of all areas
throughout
throughout
the
the
length
length
and
and
breadth
breadth
of the West.
For all the
People living there together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon.
and
Especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished.
Heart Sutra.
Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling on the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One enters the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form, emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no gods from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Om Gate Gate Par Gate Para Sam Gate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Devas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One.
With the
Wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world.
One rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum. Someone else is going to be coming soon.
Let's go.
Mary is.
Mary brought
That's okay.
No, she's sitting there. You can sit wherever you like.
Space, trying to.
We have a steam room upstairs if you wish to relax.
So let's do one rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum, thinking of compassion, the wish to remove the suffering of others. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we thereby set the motivation for being here and being together. And motivation is very powerful because it determines the quality of the actions that, the physical actions or verbal actions that follow when we talk about karma, when we talk about, karma means action. And we were talking about karma and the laws of action, laws of cause and effect. What really determines the quality of an action is the motivation with which it's engaged in. So motivation is really important. There are all these things that we do in life that are neutral. For example, sleeping. And if we can set our motivation before we go to sleep, so that we are sleeping to derive the rest that we need in order to benefit others, then that sleep is virtuous. If we just go to sleep, as I normally do, without giving it a thought, it's just neutral, it's sort of wasted time. So we can really skillfully bring the idea of setting our motivation into all aspects of our lives. And it's most important at the beginning of the day when we, as we're facing the day, if we really try to set the motivation that we are engaging in whatever we're engaging in with the wish to somehow benefit others, then everything we do in the day is influenced by that, even subconsciously. Just the fact that we have determined that what I'm going to do today, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to have difficult times, but I'm entering into this with the wish to be of benefit to others. So, motivation is very important. So with our rosary of Om Mani Padme Hums, we've infused this evening's conversation with a quality of compassion, with that wish to remove the suffering of others, and we can there are two things which they're very related: love, loving kindness, and compassion. And loving kindness is the wish to provide others with what they need. Compassion is the wish to remove their suffering. So both of these qualities are considered when we consider compassion. We should also not only think about this wish to remove others' suffering, but also wish to provide others with what they need. Okay, we've been discussing beyond religion, and as Tony teases, we've been dwelling on the
It's a nice space to dwell in. Reasonable.
the different aspects of, well, the chapter is how to avoid war.
Yes.
However, last week we, gosh, we really
I have
have
a library work. Tony's books and narcotics, no.
So, the chapter is called The Futility of War.
Yay.
Now we're discussing the way in which we as individuals can counter that. And I'm glad that you're back, because you are our token diplomat, the person who can actually,
That's right.
in a professional way, engage in avoiding war, diminishing the tendency towards war. But what we all can do, as you go and represent us at the United Nations, is work on ourselves, work at diminishing the tendency.
See so many languages.
And, yeah, page 138.
78.
I
We
can
have,
listen, I can listen,
sorry?
I can listen.
Yeah, it's,
There's more inside.
That way.
so, patience toward the perpetrators of harm is something that we discussed last week. And as His Holiness says, it's important that we reflect on the fact that everything depends on a great many causes and conditions. So when we think of difficulties, challenges, if we can think that they are far more complex, we tend to see see things from our point of view and see how we are being impacted by this, and we react to that. And we don't really, I think, I know that when I'm challenged, I just think of myself as being the victim of some kind of accusation or some kind of someone's done something to me, without thinking of the other person's that which might have preceded his or her behavior towards me. And I definitely don't think about my own karmic responsibility for the difficulty that I am confronted by. And I think that
That's true.
that one is really important to contemplate. And it's hard to do on the spot. When someone harms us, when someone acts unjustly towards us, when someone causes a problem, we tend to put the blame on them rather than thinking back. And I think that we all sitting here, I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm speaking from the point of view that we accept the idea of karma. We accept the idea that our past actions have caused the difficulties that we are confronting today. Of course, there are all sorts of things that we are bothered by that are outside ourselves. But if we really consider the laws of karma, even those are due to our own past actions. So how do you feel about that? I throw that out as something that I'm assuming we accept, but it's a big thing to accept, especially in a culture where we don't even accept the idea of reincarnation, which karma really depends on to work.
Yeah, that's a hard and fast situation. You won't run into it if you didn't cause it. You don't have some causal energy in the game. You didn't hurt someone, then you get the idea. If you're suffering pain or something, or aggression, somewhere down in the past, you created the cause for that. Remember the accident I had? I caused it. Even though they ran a light, ran into me, I caused it. You were making a big speech about that. It was a long time ago. Yes, you did.
I think there are some great practitioners who actually wish for all the bad karma to ripen, so they actually rejoice when they're having a horrible day because they're getting rid of their negative karma. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, that would be a good.
You don't do that?
We all got together the other night and did that.
So there are times
We
when
didn't
we
close
have
it.
little problems.
And I should be upset if I have little problems.
No, if we have little problems, we can say, that's removed. If I can view that, if I can accept that with patience, that dissolves the bigger problems.
I see.
Mm. Right, so if we meet it with bad energy, or if we meet it with more confrontational energy, it's only causing more bad karma. But if we're able to...
Now, let's take the word, it's only causing more bad karma. So it is causing more bad karma. Our frustration, our anger is bad karma.
Right.
But it's causing bad
He's testing
karma.
He's testing you.
It's okay, buddy.
You're gonna suffer as a result of that.
Hey, buddy. Hey, you just caused the future whack from another cat.
Perfect timing.
And maybe a human.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a good way to think about it or not. I would like your opinion, but when I think of it, I don't like to think of it as it was my own bad karma, because I feel there's a link in our stream of consciousness with the person in past lives, but it's not me, and I guess me should be a little bit empty of meanness and of ownership at the same time that we're seeing the cause and effect of the karmic actions that happened in the past. And so I guess I try to think of it, well, this is cause and effect by a person involved with my stream of consciousness, but not the degree of ownership that language maybe just causes us to use, because it's easier to say my own.
Isn't there a meditation in Shantideva where someone is harming you and you put compassion on saying, now I'm getting rid of my bad karma, but this person now will suffer because they're creating more. Some one of those chapters of all.
So I think, Grace, you're not throwing guilt into it
Yeah.
as much that way, right? It's like it's something that happened because of something I did in a past life, or even as a kid, and I didn't know I was doing something bad. It's like, because a lot of times it's like, oh, I did something bad. I grew up Irish Catholic. That means it's my fault. I'm guilty, and it's karma is not guilt. Or should make karma worse by throwing guilt on top of it.
Accepting responsibility for the challenges, the difficulties we face. Now, your suggestion that it's not me who did it, it's someone before who's in my stream of, on one level, if we really analyze that, the sense of me that you are right to contradict or to negate or deny, that sense of me, were we to exist that way, there would be no possibility of a stream of consciousness. If we existed in the way that we feel we exist, there could be no evolution, there could be no effect from the past upon us. That sense of me that we do feel, that we do invest in, that we do that's a very important part of the way we live life. That flawed sense of me I'm talking about would actually, as I say, counter the ability for karma to function. However, we are saying this was my past action that is causing me to suffer now. We are assuming a certain responsibility. We are, I don't think that this way of thinking has much power or vitality unless we consider that I am responsible for. It's not that I can say, oh, that person, my predecessor, the person before did. No, I'm saying I am suffering this challenge because of something that I committed. I think that's the only way in which this thought has any effect on me, or not. I mean, what are your...
And that's inescapable, like, if you really think about it. Yeah, you will suffer what you did, according to the books. Yeah. That's it. It's hard to get used to. It doesn't feel comfortable.
But, and when you say you will suffer what you did.
You will,
what
the
this is
the echoes
suggesting
of what you did.
Is that the you that you are
It's
blaming
not,
for.
yeah, that's a false projection, but it seems natural. So you're reading it the wrong way.
No, but I'm suggesting that for that thought to actually be effective, you do have to take responsibility. Right now, the me of now has to take
But
responsibility.
taking responsibility isn't inheriting guilt,
No, guilt doesn't have a,
right?
Guilt.
And is that like, or shame or any part of yourself that says like, darn it, this is happening because I did something wrong before? I think sometimes, if I'm reading you correctly, Grace, I don't know, but are you saying that like when you feel like it's you that's done something wrong, it starts to feel a little bit like
You
hard
have to-
because it means it chips away at you on some level?
You have to see
Or
what
am I
value you're
incorrect?
giving to you, an inherent value or just what it really is.
I think there's some, there's some shame and guilt, but there's some unfairness because you have no memory of it, and there's been an awful lot of change in your,
Mm.
whoever you is between a past life and now.
Mm.
And also, it just seems like it takes some of the, it allows you to think of it a little more and maybe to mix a thought of emptiness in with the karmic effects, to think of it as a process rather than it was me that, I'm responsible.
Situation is changeable, you're saying?
Yeah,
It's
it
not
just lightens it up a little bit at the same time, but I'm not sure
Has to be
really.
changed.
And Nikki, you're saying that it is important to say that I did it. Not my stream of consciousness, not the me's through the past, but me now.
well, we can
Mhm.
sit and we can think. I'm experiencing a problem. That problem is facing me due to something that this series of moments of consciousness that go back over many, many, many past lives has engaged in a negative way that is causing the effect of that whole series of moments of consciousness to experience this problem. Sure,
Yeah.
but the point is that we are recognizing that it is, that we are presently responsible for the problem that we are confronting.
Does it help to know that? What's the purpose of needing to know that? Other than theoretically, this is the way it happens.
We, instead of blaming the other person, we are assuming, we're saying, actually, I caused something that is now, it's the way by which we diminish our anger, our, I think it's.
Or simply
definitely-
Takes
coming
away
at it
why
with,
me.
but I guess coming at any situation with a compassionate mind, saying, I would want to help the other person through this versus this is happening to me. I guess knowing that I caused it doesn't necessarily make me feel how, how to respond in the situation. I don't, taking the blame, it's not even about blame, but that's not really going to help me in the situation. Know that I would want to just respond in a compassionate way and try to figure things out versus saying I caused this to myself. Not that I wouldn't want to own up to it, just,
Oh,
You know.
I saw you. It's claustrophobic otherwise, if how did this happen to me and not to this? I always get,
it
you
just
caused
did,
it, that's it,
Well, to go beyond the it just did,
Yeah.
what we're doing because it is the mechanism that makes me change the way I want to behave now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But you're reacting in the moment, so whatever caused it is what caused it, but now how you're reacting is what's gonna make that change, right?
Now how I'm reacting is gonna make that, is gonna cause that to change. It's gonna change my, I won't have anger towards the situation, the frustrating situation. I won't have anger towards the dynamic of my anger towards the person who's caused me harm will change. It's not that I won't have anger, but
Mm-hmm.
I will recognize that there must be some reason that this guy is, and if we really
Mm-hmm.
abide by the laws of cause and effect, I am assuming responsibility, and that motivates me to be careful about how I behave, realizing that every selfish
Mm-hmm.
action is eventually going to.
Come back.
I suppose that's what.
Yeah, I think that's what I wouldn't, yeah, exactly. Just knowing, having the knowledge that, well, you want to be your best self always. If you're not, it will come back to you. But the other person, the way they're acting towards you, it's like pieces in a chess game or something, right? They've got their own situation that they're dealing with, and they deal that out to you, and then it's like not a game that diminishes it, but
Which is seemingly why that feels so profound, is that if someone's acting really ornery toward me, and then it riles me up, and makes me want to be angry back, if my anger is actually dissolved because I'm in the practice of understanding my own cause and effect within myself and within my own karma, it means that no matter how anyone treats me, I'm able to retain my own response rather than be subject to being reactive all the time, if this is implemented. Which is, yeah, special, obviously.
So, Tony, you want to explain what you mentioned that there's a
Shantideva.
particular Shantideva.
Yeah, I forgot the chapter, but it's always, instead of saying you're mad at the person who hit you with a stick, well, it's always something simple like that. Then you think further, wait a minute, I was hit by the stick because I created an action to cause that in the past. Well, that karma's not going away. Why am I going to be stupid and hit that, number one? Number two, he will now suffer because my past actions provoked him or her, let's not get sexist, and they're going to suffer, so let it ripen on me. You know, so you're generating, it's a little complicated, but it's based in fact. Well,
In other words, my non-virtuous action in the past, whatever I did to this person that is causing him to do something harmful to me, I provoked him, and now I'm bearing the consequence of my provocation. But because I provoked him, and he is now retaliating, he's going to suffer. And I develop compassion towards him. So that's a sort of effective way of thinking about karma, and developing, as Tony said, compassion towards the person who's suffering due to what I did to him.
I remember Rupert says, and that's hard to think. Yeah. Especially the first time you hear it.
But you know, you say it's hard to think, but
It's hard to
to
think.
just discuss
Like
like this, and to develop some kind of enthusiasm towards such thinking helps us.
Yes. First time I heard it, what?
The patience chapter, maybe?
Yeah,
Patience?
6,
Patience
maybe,
part,
I don't know, I have the book, there's one upstairs.
how do you slow down the moment?
You have to develop control,
You know,
discipline, mental
If you're
discipline.
yelling at me right now, the emotions well up, and it's kind of hard to not respond.
For us, we're not
Maybe I
developed.
know in the back of my mind
Oh,
that, I'm to blame for making you yell at me, because I yelled at you in the past, or someone else in the past.
yeah.
But to slow that moment down,
Well, you always say these things only work after you contemplate them
You have to do the work
There's
on
no,
your
there's no pill.
meditation pillow.
There
no
are
pill?
pills.
And,
There's a pill
there's an
called,
app.
there's a pill called emptiness, that's the pill.
No, this pill is patience. And
Patience.
that has to be worked on,
Patience.
not when you're confronted.
Yeah.
The more you can really become convinced of this, the more you'll be able to not only actually resist getting angry, but as you were saying, develop compassion towards the person.
But you also, I feel like, I think, after a while, when you get riled up and you get so angry, you realize this actually is not making me feel better, right? When you get angry and upset. So if you can leave that behind, walk away, let it go, come back to it, you realize you would not be doing service to yourself if you let yourself get angry.
It's
Easy to say, it sounds dumb,
No,
but
Shanti David says that nobody wakes up and says, I want to get angry.
yeah.
You know, nobody had the thought to be angry. I somehow provoked this person to be angry, you know.
Yeah.
So, I like to get angry. Let's see, I got time.
When we face aggression or disrespect, it is worth considering why the aggressive or disrespectful people are acting that way. Very likely their behavior reflects difficulties they themselves are experiencing. Recognizing this can moderate our instinct to retaliate, which I think is sort of it's the thought that you were suggesting one should take, Mary. We must work towards retaining our concern and compassion for the perpetrators of harm. So, how do we do that? It's hard to do when we're confronted, but we can do it afterwards. When we go home. As we lick our wounds, we can think, I must retain compassion and concern for the person who.
But I mean, it does work. I mean, you might not be able to respond correctly or with compassion in the heat of the moment, but if you can at least remain like a stone, as the teaching, or even if you can't, you can always walk away, and then later you can think about it. So why does this happen? How did I react? What was this all about? When you think about it, you can tell that the person is actually, something is rallying them up to actually be aggressive towards you. And usually it's not a happy person who's doing that. Yeah, but a happy person, a person who is happy with themselves, will not go around being aggressive to others. So in that way, you can kind of understand that they're also under some kind of emotional problem, some kind of emotional upheaval. Otherwise, they wouldn't be insulting you or harming you. So in that way, you can think about it after the fact. So I think it's useful. Then if you think about it a little bit more deeply, then you can actually generate, well, this person is usually not like this. Maybe he or she is just having a off day, or maybe was suffering something horribly, so that she's just basically, he or she is just lashing out. And by lashing out, they're accumulating their future suffering. So it's reasonable to generate compassion towards them.
Yep. So in the evening, before you go to bed, think of the little times that So the next type of patience is patience through acceptance of suffering. And here, His Holiness says, we must accept that life involves hardship. To expect life to be easy only causes one sets one up for additional misery. Accepting suffering makes it easier to bear. So His Holiness talks about third world countries where people have to accept, and then coming to first world countries where people are far less tolerant of challenges to their happiness and dissatisfied and get angry and Any thoughts on this?
We're not in a third world country, but it's good to have a firm realization that life is not gonna produce moment by moment nothing but joy, as people who are not in good situations imagine, you know.
Yeah.
Even when we're, quote, on vacation, everything's gonna be great. No.
I remember there was a comedian, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about how when there wasn't Wi-Fi on planes, there was no Wi-Fi on planes, there had never been Wi-Fi on planes, and then all of a sudden everyone was on a plane and they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have Wi-Fi on the plane. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, they start using the Wi-Fi, and then the Wi-Fi went out, and then everyone's like, oh my god, Wi-Fi doesn't work. As though they had always had Wi-Fi. It was an interesting little window into feeling like once you're given something, or once you think it's just a given all the time, or that it's granted, and when it's taken away, it feels really awful, you know? But I feel like that, you know,
The heat goes out,
yeah, these things that
the
are,
power goes out.
just feel like they're granted, or there's an illusion of being granted.
I was on a flight quite recently, and the what's it called, the television system didn't work.
Right.
And the hostess said, I don't know why she said it to me, but she said, oh, that's much better, then everyone will sleep all night and they won't be so cranky. So accepting suffering makes it easier to bear. Now that's, it's true that fighting our difficulties tend to make the situation worse, while simply accepting that this is the way it is.
There's also such a big difference between the first world suffering and the third world suffering, yeah? Like for us, in the West, it's suffering if the AC doesn't work, right? Whereas in the third world country, it might be that they have to go out and look for water every day. A lot of people don't have access to water, and water is much more important than AC, you know? So I see these people at the pump, yeah, in the community pump, and there's the pots, and they're all there, and every day, and I was living in Raqqa at that time, and I see these people from the village go down with the kids and the women, and sometimes the men also, at this one pump, they're there in the morning on time, and then they're there in the evening, and I was like, here I'm in India, but my house has running water, you know. So it's and in the meanwhile, my friends in America are like, oh, I don't have AC. My AC went out and I can't take it. You know, I'm like, yeah, you have water. So and one time when I was still working in NYU, one professor from the law school went to India for the first time. He came back and he had a nervous breakdown, I heard. So that was his experience. It was the first experience of India. So I was like, okay, so professors are also human beings. Just because they're multimillionaires doesn't mean that they don't suffer either. So I was kind of like, I kind of felt for the guy. You know, so I was like,
So accepting suffering,
Patience.
so as we confront the challenges we have, if we simply are determined to fix those outer problems and are miserable until we do so, then we remain miserable. If we accept that things break, and if our attitude towards the challenge is one of accepting it, of course we work at fixing it, but we don't get angry. We're so much happier.
And maybe more in a better position to correct the problem.
I think sometimes I've had difficulty where it's like I get lost between acceptance or denial. Or at times I think I've almost like, this is hard, and I'm not getting angry about it, but I'm not really accepting it either. So this weird, murky, kind of like sweep it under the rug thing happens. And it's like, I think that my own dialogue at times has become, as long as I'm not angry, I'm doing a good job. But there's this third option that I think kind of results in not good feelings either, that is kind of like, well, something bad is happening, and so I'm just gonna go around it instead of going through it and just accepting that it's something bad that's happening. So I see that that's tricky, but I found myself getting lost where I just say, as long as I'm not angry, I'm doing good.
But I think that there's a lot of value in avoiding anger in situations. That's a big,
But the
Healthy.
but the denial part about it, I feel like the acceptance that something wrong is happening and that it's okay that something is happening that's difficult, I think seems to be the deeper movement.
yeah, but step by step.
Right,
And sometimes it's hard to know how to deal with it,
yeah.
you know. I mean, homelessness is like the number one way human beings all seem to be able to deny suffering and deny our responsibility for it.
Oh,
You know, like we walk by someone who's homeless and we did that. And we created a world where someone is on the street without a place to live, possibly without food, and because we have to carry on with our lives, it's just sort of easier to just suppress it and walk on by. And maybe later we'll say, oh, you know, I'll donate to a shelter. But in the moment, it's really hard to deal with that.
but later donating is very good too. You rethought and so many forces.
So, I think that we have to take this as to approach what we are talking about as these are the exercises, or this is the work that we have to do. It's not that we accomplish it, it's not that we get there, it's that we work on ourselves. It's that, and so that it's not that we're gonna remove all the homeless people in the world. It's that we are going to develop our feeling of responsibility towards them, and it's gonna continue forever. Even a Buddha can't provide that homeless
Right.
person with. So I think that's
Yeah.
it's not that we say, oh, that it doesn't matter because I'm not gonna actually ever get there. On the contrary, but we don't despair, we just, it's
Yeah.
part of the work that we're doing
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So, this accepting suffering makes it easier to bear. How do you feel about that one?
Works out on paper, but hard. It's true, I mean, it's nothing wrong with it, it's logical, but to put that into practice, very difficult, I feel.
But, you know, I was talking about lack of air conditioning, and we can really get angry about it, or we can simply, you know, when you're in a situation where the air conditioner goes out, the more you accept it, the less painful it is.
Acceptance is a skill.
Also, we get very used to our comforts in the West, right? We're very used to comfortable things in the West. Whereas, I mean, even look at the homeless people. Okay, we see homeless people in our cities, in our big cities and stuff. But if you go to India and see families living on top of the mountains of garbage, and the kids are running around with not one stitch of clothing on them. So that's the different kind of homelessness. You know, yes, homelessness is bad. We have shelters here at least. Some people don't want to go, some people, it's not enough, it's true. But you don't see mountains of garbage and families actually living. And what kind of shelter are they having? They're having one shelter. What I saw was garbage, black garbage bag, right? That's with a little lean-to, with one little pole and the black garbage bag, and there's like a dozen kids running around, stark naked, on top of garbage dump. That's a different kind of homelessness. So when you think about it.
So, what we're doing here is trying to figure out how we can behave in respect to this. Yes, there was the Zen master in Queens or in the Bronx, who used to have his disciples be homeless for a week as a training.
Yeah, the Bernie Glassman, yeah.
Yeah. However, here what we're doing is learning to think about the fact that if we are more patient ourselves in situations of difficulty, we will be happier. And if we can just think of the logic of that, that will help us. It'll also make us far more pleasant with the people around us.
Mm.
Also, you don't become too depressed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't, because life has to go on.
So, and Shantideva says, if we can do something about a problem, we should do it and not worry. If there's nothing we can do, then there's no point in worrying. And that little, what would you call it, that thought is one that can really help us
Yes.
as we despair, get frustrated, whatever. If we really think, gosh, can I do something about it? If I can, I should do that. If I can't, what's the point of getting, now, of course, it's something that's easy to say, but it is something that we should consider, we should think about. But His Holiness goes on to say we should not surrender to suffering or to our problems. Accepting suffering, far from being a surrender, is the first step towards combating its harm. So that's really important. Where is that? on page 141. Of course, this is not to suggest that we should surrender to suffering. On the contrary, accepting suffering, far from being a surrender, is the first step toward combating its harm. So how is accepting suffering the first step towards combating its harm?
We have to realize that life is suffering, basically. Suffering of suffering, the suffering of change, and the all-pervasive suffering.
Well, on a more personal note, the accept cancer instead of questioning it, complaining about it, why me, just say, oh, this is what I have. It's obviously something that I brought on myself, so there's no point in bemoaning it. It's like, now you gotta try to fix it.
And that calms your mind.
Yeah. And also be grateful that, in my case, it didn't kill me. You know, you could say, it's like, oh, wow, it really sucks, cancer. But on the other hand, like, I had surgery and I'm better. Like, how lucky am I? Like,
A lot of people don't have the opportunity.
not only am I living in Maplewood, but I got something that's curable. And not everyone's that lucky. Certainly not kids growing up in a garbage dump. And I got all that bad karma out of my system.
You just got a nod from Buddy. Buddy just gave you that stare.
Thanks, buddy.
So His Holiness goes on by saying, by accepting hardship, we begin to see that it is not entirely negative. It can, for example, be a powerful force in bringing us together with others by enlivening our empathetic, compassionate natures. Above all, suffering helps us recognize our kinship with one another. And with this recognition, we are no longer overwhelmed by our difficulties, but gain the strength we need to meet the challenges we face. That's a nice place to end.
How he scrutinizes reality and comes up with answers is very interesting.
Let's finish, we'll do the next. Personal suffering can also be a catalyst for individual spiritual growth. In addition to making us stronger, it can bring us a kind of humility and help us to be more in tune with reality. These effects of suffering are recognized by all the world's major religious traditions. They are also something I have felt in my own life. I am in no doubt that my experience of exile has given me a deeper understanding of life than I would have had if I were still living in Tibet as the privileged ruler of a country. Well, I think that though we are not, we are not people who are no longer rulers of countries, that the reasoning behind that is something that we can all apply in our own lives. So we've been asked to pray for Gareth Hudson, Rob Young's great-grandfather Howard Starnes. Okay. So, we shall recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. prostrate
to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyasambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the moon where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavan teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy. It puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha, the great Yana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are filled with glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path of liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are wholly filled with merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm.
With the
Determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it.
I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment.
Now, a prayer for the swift victory of KHENSUR RINPOCHE.
Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozan Tukwang Ngojek Shan. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozan's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet who have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others, is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end,
to abandon
your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech you, son of Nirmanakaya, to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tempe.
magnificent truth, the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Kanhaya,
Ramayana, Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight. Thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you.
You always come out better than when we came. Put all to that stuff. He goes
So
to
this Saturday, we will have Tara practice here at 1 o'clock at the Tibet Center. Everyone is welcome.